You're listening to Whoa! Potluck.
Welcome to Marvel Makeup, guys. I'm Quincy.
And I'm Kay, and this is a podcast where I teach Quincy a little bit about Marvel.
And I teach Kay a little bit about makeup.
We say this every single time.
No, I just realized in the middle of this, I'm on two monitors today, and I was like, oh no, they're going to know it's a script.
Mine's right here, so I always look off at the side. And quick spoiler alert, we do have MCU spoilers ahead. So warning. Spoilers. And today we have a great guest who is a writer, filmmaker, and performer. She recently wrote on season 2 of Dollface on Hulu and season 2 of First Wives Club on BET+.
And she's also one of the hosts of Third and Fairfax, the WGAW podcast. Please welcome Josephine Green Zhang.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
I forgot to ask, how do you say your last name? I remember because you got married and that's where the Zhang part comes from. How do you pronounce that?
You actually say Zhang, like
Zhang.
like it's almost like a J, but like with a soft H after it. So it's like like Zsa Zsa Gabor, kind of
okay.
Zhang, like Zhang, yeah, like that.
It's like there's a Korean name that's like that. Korean last name, Jeong, Zhang.
Yeah, similar. There's so much overlap, with with Korea and Chinese. And what's funny is my family's maiden name is Yang. So I used to, at one point I went by Josephine Green Yang, and then I just switched it to Zhang. And I guess like Zhang Yang means sort of has like in China, it's like new money, rich. Which I will take.
Yes,
love it.
We'll take it.
I also love that Zhang and Yang are so close to each other and like you usually don't get Y and Z last names, and you got them both.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I think like there's something about later in the alphabet with the last name that's a little more rebellious because you were like called on last in school. You're always like the N. You're like, I'm at the back of the line.
Yeah. Whenever they start roll call, you're like, sit back for a while. This is gonna be a bit.
I just had like a flashback of like 7-year-old you being like, I dare you to say my name.
I'm just gonna drink from the water fountain while you all go to class.
I can be late. They're not going to get to me until like 15 minutes in.
That's funny. I have my name's obviously on the closer end of the alphabet, and I do feel like, I definitely felt like I had to be like
ready,
ready to go because my name was going to get called. Interesting.
I mean, the truth was I was a G, so like I would be in not like a little gangster, but like I was I was in the middle, so I was kind of like, good kids or bad kids? Which one do I go with? Like, this has nothing to do with Marvel.
But like again, like with the names, we'll take it. But yeah, this is the Marvel Makeup Podcast. Joe, we have you with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. I call you Joe. That's right? Because
Joe's good. Josephine.
I remember when we first met, you were like Joe. I was like, okay. But whenever I read it, I see the whole thing. So I'm always like, does she prefer Joe or Josephine? Well, we're gonna go with Joe and Josephine, whatever you like. But we're also going to dive into Spider-Man Homecoming today, which came out on July 7th, 2017, just to get you in the mindset of what was happening in 2017. That was the year the Unicorn Frappuccino came out. I never tried that. I was like, this has way too much color. I don't trust it. It was also the year of the solar eclipse, the year that the fidget spinners were having a moment. Did you guys use those? Did you have one? Yeah,
I did get a bunch of free ones from my husband. He did, for some reason, his office gave out a bunch, so I had a lot of fidget spinners.
I mean, I remember a lot of people were going at that, and I was just like, cool. And then and it kind of became a thing of like, you know, you would talk about it and be like, what's the real use of it, and get into like these talks about like the point of it. But then, sure enough, like a year later, you're like, they're gone.
I just remember, as far as use goes, I saw them at a burlesque show as pasties, which were very interesting. And now when I think, I know both of you. And I would say they were the most ingenious use of fidget spinners. And they whirled into world.
That's pretty cool because the ones I have are really heavy. So I'm like, oh, that's some nipple like muscle.
Yeah,
like
nip power. A lot of nip
strength.
power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
And actually, what's really interesting is that, you know, later we're going to talk about Rihanna's Fenty line. It actually debuted in 2017. So very interesting connection. And
4 years later, today, she's a billionaire.
Exactly. And then one final highlight that I remember that I thought was great to mention, you know, because this movie came out in 2017, Tom Holland, Zendaya were doing press, and one of their press events was doing lip sync battle on Paramount Network. Or
I did not know that was part of their press tour. Oh my God. Have you seen it, Joe?
Yes, I have.
It's so good.
Oh, who did
he did Rihanna?
He does Rihanna
with the
he
singing in the rain
Rihanna.
thing because of his Broadway background.
Umbrella. Yes.
Yep. An iconic performance from both of them. And I remember when I watched that, because they actually, you know, they both cross-dress, because Zendaya does Bruno Mars and then Tom Holland does Rihanna. And I was just like, this truly is a new Spider-Man. Like, you know, because I don't think you had ever seen Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire like cross-dress and do drag like on a TV show, you know, and be in like in a major movie. So just a little bit of the highlights that were from 2017. But let's dive into the movie. It was directed by John Watts, who also directed the other Spider-Man movies in the MCU. Funnily enough, the new Spider-Man movie that's going to come out later this year, the trailer just dropped this past week, which he directed. And other movies he directed a movie called Clown and a movie called Cop Car and various episodes of the Onion News Network. So a bit of a comedy background for him. And I also thought this was interesting. You know, the screenplay, like a lot of these big blockbuster movies, are written by several people. This one was written by 3 different teams of guys. One was John Watts and his writing partner, Christopher Ford. Another team was Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly, I don't know if you watched Freaks and Geeks, but he played Sam, who was like the lead kid in it. So like now as an adult, he's writing Marvel movies. And then one of the other writing teams was Chris McKenna and Eric Sommers. And they actually have a lot of like comedy credits as well. Like they wrote on Community, and they also wrote on Jumanji, the new Welcome to the Jungle one with Dwayne Johnson, and then the Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man the Wasp. So, you know, a lot of like comedic people kind of also contributing to these movies, even though they're like big blockbuster action movies. So, you know, just to start us off, Joe, what's your kind of hot take on Spider-Man Homecoming? You know, this is when we were thinking about like inviting guests for phase 3. This is one of the movies that you're just like, oh yes, I love Spider-Man. I'll join you for Spider-Man. What's kind of your overall take on Spider-Man Homecoming?
My take on Spider-Man Homecoming is that this is the best Spider-Man.
Wow.
Live action Spider-Man. I will say, you know, the animated Spider-Man Into the Universe is like really like they're just both neck and neck wonderful. But my take, Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man to have ever been Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire cannot hold a candle. And like, if you go back and watch Tobey Maguire in that Spider-Man, it's painful. Because Tom Holland is so good. I don't need to ever see the old Spider-Mans because Tom Holland is charismatic. He's just nuanced, sweet, earnest. So Tom Holland delivers. I think Zendaya and him are a cute, great, couple. Like, and her sarcastic, Mary Jane, her take on that is also wonderful, and they have wonderful chemistry. And Ned as like the best friend, boy in the chair, is just so funny. I can rewatch it again just for his one-liners. And yeah, I mean, this is the best Spider-Man. That's my take.
Realized Zendaya was Mary Jane when you said she's Mary Jane, and she goes at the end, "I'm MJ," and I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like,
yeah, they just dropped it. They just dropped it. Yep.
Because her name's Michelle.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
I mean, definitely a new spin on the character. I will say, like, when I was younger, I don't want to date myself too much, but I was that's when the Tobey Maguire movies had come out. So that was kind of like my reference in terms of like live action Spider-Man. And so, yeah, seeing this new version, I was like, okay, what are they bringing? What is the big spin? And I think just the fact that it is part of the Marvel universe, it referenced so much of, the previous movies, and Iron Man is in the movie. That's what kind of makes it so special and unique. And the fact that, and I remember them talking about this in kind of like, interviews and stuff like that with like the creators and the director. This is kind of the first time where you see Peter mostly as a kid. Like in the other movies, he's kind of an adult for a good portion of the movies. Mm-hmm. Whereas this one, he starts the movie still in high school. He ends the movie still in high school. And that's kind of like what kind of hero he was in the comic books. Like he was the one that was known as like the kid, like he was the kid superhero, which is why so many people, kids loved him, because they're like, oh, he's just like me. He's not like a billionaire or like a god or like, a soldier. He's not an adult. He's a kid that's like me. So, I agree that this is one of my favorite movies of Spider-Man movies, of MCU movies. And yeah, very, very rewatchable. What do you think, Quincy? What was your...
I similarly, I watched Spider-Man when it came out, the Tobey Maguire one. And like that one, I feel like feels so iconic, right? Just because it's like if they did like a remake of Harry Potter, right? Like,
okay.
It's like, and it's not like Harry Potter level of icon, but like it was so iconic with Mary Jane and the origin story. So to Josephine's point, I will say, I'm glad they didn't do just a reboot of the same thing and put a different take on. Yeah. And like, because we already know that. We don't need another one of that with flashier things. And kind of what Joe, you were saying was, and to what you were saying, Kay, I liked that we got to see him figure it out. I liked that so much of who he was played into who he was as a superhero. Like he's figuring it out. He's clumsy. He's still a kid. And there's like a realness and a great heartwarming goofiness to that I think Spider-Man needs. Like, I think the Uncle Ben-ness of his origin story is like really, I like that take because it's dark and gritty, and that's also real, right? Like kids losing someone and like getting that push to be bigger and less scared. But it was also fun just to watch him figure shit out. Cause like, I think very much I related to him.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I will also say that I think one of the strengths of this movie also lies in its villain in Michael Keaton playing Toombs. We've been watching all of the Marvel movies in order and of their release. And I think we've kind of found this pattern of like the stronger movies, the villains kind of have more like depth to them and kind of the strength of their character really adds a lot to the movies.
They have motive. My only thing was with I loved him. He was such a great baddie. The only thing I guess, he was like, I have a thing to protect, a family to protect. And then, the reversal, I know I texted you, Kay, when I was like, it's his daughter. I guess it felt a little like, I love the reveal, but then it just, I don't know. It just, I loved his turn of like being the little guy turned bad, but I guess I don't know if
blue-collar villain.
Yeah. And that's real too, right? Because he's getting squished from the top down. I don't know if I bought it. I don't know if you guys felt the same.
Really?
It was like I couldn't get invested. I knew it was important, but because we never got to see what was so important to him until the very end, I didn't feel for him as much as I could. And then it felt like the reason we didn't get to see it was the reveal of the connection. And then it just wasn't as like, I don't know, sweet. I guess I would have wanted to see like what he was protecting and what was so important.
Okay. Yeah, I guess.
I mean, you wanted to see his family. Like you wanted to see like him struggling and interesting.
Because we never got to see that vulnerable side of like what he would. And I think if we got to see him be vulnerable as the baddie, it's like, then you're conflicted, right? Because it's like, he's essentially doing small arms deals in New York City, but like he has a very valid reason. But because we didn't get to see that soft side to him, like till the very end, it just didn't. I don't know. I like to get very emotional when I watch movies, and I was just like,
why aren't I crying?
I don't know if you guys felt the same or not.
Well, I mean, for me, considering, I mean, they actually open the movie with him. Like you don't get to Spider-Man until after the flip, after the Marvel Comics flip. So, and this was actually one of the first times I actually noticed that. And so for me, they got me right away with him having that argument and then being like, punching out the guy in the suit and then being like, they make these messes and they, and then they hire themselves to clean it up. And this was supposed to be our job. I was on board by then because I was just like, oh, that's a very legitimate, reason and just, justification. And also maybe I'm still kind of like in the world of Civil War, I'm still remembering like the Zemo effect of like, the people, how people are the actual real people on the ground are affected by all these like big superhero, events. So for me, I was like, dude has a point and he's doing what he can. And this was really subtle. The first times I watched it, but I recognized it more this time. He was trying his best to like stay under the radar. He kept saying like, you don't want the Avengers to come down here. You don't want Iron Man to come down here. Let's do this. But he wasn't trying to like make a name for himself. He wasn't trying to be like a big bad. He was just trying to like really just trying to make a living, So yeah. So I can see how like if we had gotten more hints of like he has a family life, it might have been shown his vulnerability, but I think that was because of the reveal of when he opens the door and like you said, Joe, like Tom Holland's nuance, especially in that scene with, when he's, realizing who he is. And the whole time after he just has this like sick look on his face. I was like, oh man, that's really great acting.
He played Billy Elliot, that's going to make you tear up. He can play Billy Elliot. He can dance as a Spider-Man boy, Spider-Boy man. In this edition. But like, I have to agree with you. Like, I really loved, and they do this in a lot of Marvel movies where they start with the story of the villain. They get in, they get out. I want to say Ant-Man, but I'm failing on that one. But I know definitely like in Iron Man, in one of the Iron Mans, they start with the story of the villain.
Oh yeah.
Iron Man 2, I think.
2 with Venkov, I think. Ivan.
Mickey Rourke.
Yeah. who is not Mickey Rooney.
Mickey Rooney.
We made that.
Watched the whole movie thinking, I was like, Mickey Rooney is not dead? Also, what?
He's really made up from that Breakfast at Tiffany's.
That's literally what I thought. I was like, he must have been really young when he shot. I was like, man, I don't know.
But yeah, no, I think what I think works about the opening with the villain in this one is that he is his work, his other coworkers are his family, and that becomes a theme that he gets to live this dual life where it's like he's protecting, it reminds me of like season 2 of The Wire, the guys on the docks, and they're like looking out for like their team, and they have to keep this hidden. And I think what's so smart is that they like that like Marvel that they make it like Stark Industries. I was just saying Marvel. I got Stark Industries is like a big corporation, and that they're like, oh, this alien tech. It's like their gold that they find, and they have to sweep under the rug, and they like keep it for themselves and learn to use it. And I just think that's such a smart way of like, you as a metaphor for like stealing from the big corporation and like making it out. It's like if an Amazon worker like just had like this shipping company and like get totally made out, with a whole bunch of money and so it's just very like relatable, and you get why he's doing it, and you're like, yeah, screw Stark Industries.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually, isn't that why Ant-Man went to jail? Because he was stealing from a big corporation. And
yes,
he's
he
doing
was.
it. Yeah.
Yes.
He had like,
I think he was doing it like espionage, like hacking-ish kind of stuff.
yeah, it was like a computer
like
thing.
cybersecurity something. Yeah.
So how interesting is that? Like kind of the same kind of methods, but then in this movie he breaks as the villain, and then in another instance they could break as a hero. So yeah, and I will just also say Michael Keaton, talk about the superhero genre canon. I mean, he was Batman to me growing up. So he does come from, and the fact that he is also a flying character in this
also,
movie
guys,
too.
You know what I realized watching this? I fucking confuse him. This is gonna be embarrassing. I confuse him and Michael Caine all the time.
Michael Caine, like the old British dude?
Yes.
They have such a big age gap.
I don't know. I think my brain was like, because I've heard people say, Michael Keaton, my favorite actor, blah, blah. And I'm like, yes, I too love Albert, but like, I don't know. And then when I saw him, I was like, oh, wait, no, different. I think because they kind of look the same to me, like same ovalish face. I don't know.
Michael Keaton's gotten older, and there's something to be said. Sometimes, just honestly, if two actors have similar sounding names, there's reason enough to confuse them. They were both in Batman, so I hear you. On that.
I think SNL did a whole sketch about that of like Dylan McDermott and Dermot Mulroney. Did you guys ever see that sketch?
No, but this sounds like it was made for me because
basically it was like a game show sketch where they're like, tell us, is this Dylan McDermott or Dermot Mulroney? And the people are just like, who are they? And they're like, they're both actors. They're two different people, but their names are very similar. Tell us which one is which.
No, Michael Keaton. But see, I don't think I'm completely wrong for this because there's certain celebrities that look really close to each other. Like
true.
Like Natalie Portman and Keira Knightley kind of look similar to like. I mean, they have like very small, delicate faces, like brunettes. I'm looking at Michael Keaton right now. I'm like, yep, he still kind of looks like Michael Keaton to me a little bit.
Oh, okay. I mean, they do have a bit of an age gap, but they leading men. I mean, Michael Caine's definitely a bit older. Probably at least. I mean,
Michael Keaton looks older now. Like he doesn't look like the Batman that we knew when he was Batman.
Yeah, true.
He's kind of looking more like Michael Caine now.
Yeah,
Like,
he looks to
definitely
me.
has that way of speaking. So
Yeah.
that I think I was like,
That's
yeah.
when I was like, oh, I've been confusing these two Michaels the whole time.
well, now hopefully we'll, dig into the fact that they're not the same people.
Yeah.
Classic Quincy, Michael versus Michael, another like Mickey versus Mickey. But another thing I really appreciated about this movie was the diverse cast, especially among the young people. You have, Asians, Black people, other people of color, that are populating his world. So I thought that was really cool because, you come up again with all these movies before and you would see kind of the same, Caucasian. Other friends are also there. The friends are also Caucasian and the supporting cast is also Caucasian. But I felt like this definitely felt, again, more modern and more in the new era world because it was populated by more diverse people. And actually, really fun, just like supporting cast in terms of like the adults, the teachers, the woman who played the teacher in like the math class at the beginning. She's actually currently on Diary of a Future President on Disney Plus. She plays the mom on that. I should have looked up her name.
Orange is in the New Black.
Yeah, she was also in Orange is the New Black.
In that.
She was
like the head chef who took over for Red in like season 1. She's with the Latinx, like she represents their side when Red loses her job.
Yeah. So she's really great. And I don't know if you remember this. So remember Quincy, when we were watching Incredible Hulk and there was the guy who was like in the lab when Ed Norton brings up the pizza.
Yes. You told me to remember that.
He plays the teacher who takes them to Washington, D.C.
Shut up.
Yep. And that was kind of just a coincidence. Martin Starr.
It's Martin Starr, right? I'm like,
yeah.
Right? Freaks and Geeks. Another Freaks and Geeks
alumni. Yeah. But when, I think his casting was a bit of a coincidence, especially since Incredible Hulk came out so long ago. But it basically, in the world of Marvel, it is justified that they could be the same character, that he, went to that school and was a student at that school at that time. And then now he teaches at Spider-Man school.
He was great.
Yeah. He's really, really funny.
I thought Ned was the breakout star of, I don't know if he was like already a name actor prior to this, but I thought he was like, there's always like a breakout star in one of these movies sometimes. And I just thought he fucking killed it.
Yeah. So funny.
So funny. One of my favorite scene is when he's covering, like he's like the man in the chair and then the teacher walks in and she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm watching porn. That's his like best excuse. I know I butchered it, but it's just like one that I can remember. Like just like stole a scene, just like the worst cover, but also works.
Yeah. It's just like what's justified, but also would get her off my back. You're just like, I guess, that would work. The Latinx actress, her name is Salinas Levia. That's her name. And then also another connection to a previous MCU movie. The Asian principal, Kenneth Choi, is the actor's name. He plays Principal Morita, and technically in the timeline of the MCU, he's supposed to be a descendant of the one of the Howling Commandos that worked with Captain America and First Avenger.
Okay, so then that is kind of cool because I noticed when he called Tom Holland's Peter into his office, on his thingy there's a black and white photo of him.
Yes,
I'm guessing it's his grandfather, maybe, but it's probably him in like uniform.
Yes. So that's supposed to be his like grandfather, great grandfather.
I knew he looked
Jim
familiar. I was just like, he looks so familiar.
Yeah, and they're the same actor, but because they brought him back, they made that connection to the previous movie.
Which movie again?
In First Avenger, Captain America, First Avenger. So the first Captain America movie, one of the Howling Commandos, the team that he goes out with, when Bucky was still Bucky and Dum Dugan, and they're all like going and fighting Hydra. Jim Morita is one of the Howling Commandos. And so he's technically a descendant of this Principal Morita that shows up in in Spider-Man Homecoming, which, in itself, the word homecoming, a lot of layers to that word. It's Spider-Man coming home to the Marvel universe because he was, he's still kind of owned by Sony as an IP, but they're kind of bringing him back in to the MCU and making him a part of all these other movies. And just a few other things to mention, Zendaya, even though she doesn't really have that big of a part, the few moments that she is on, just really, really fun, really funny, sharp. And
Donald Glover also did really
and
amazing.
Donald Glover. Yes. Yeah, he has one of my favorite lines where they're talking about the sandwiches, and Tom Holland, Spider-Man, is just like, "Oh, they have too much bread," and he's like, "I like bread."
It was great. Can we talk about Tony being a dad, trying to be a dad?
Yes, of course, the father-son relationship.
Yeah, and then also trying not to be his dad, but being his dad.
Yeah. And also making reference to his own father. He's like, I'm sounding just like my father, and having that parental moment I think most parents have when they're just like, oh crap, I'm being like my parents now. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's why I think that this is the best take of Spider-Man, because you're just like, oh, everybody's had a parent-kid relationship, or if you are the age more close to Tony Stark, and it's been a while since you've been in high school, you can remember, you can be in both shoes. And I think that's what makes this such a relatable story. And you can go on the journey of being the kid too, or vice versa. So it's just, I don't know. It's just, that's what makes this one so smart and heartfelt.
Yeah. And I think just the fun and comeuppance of having to see, Tony, who was, such a rebel at the beginning of the MCU and screw authority, I'm going to do what I want. And now having to be the authority over this kid who really just wants to, prove himself to him so much so similarly how Tony wanted to prove himself to his father and know that he was proud of him. But, now Tony having to be the hand to be stop it. Just stay where you are. Stay a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, as he's known in the comics. I thought that was really fun. One other fun kind of a tidbit is the fact that the woman who plays Karen, which is kind of an unfortunate name now for the AI that Spider-Man talks to, is played by Jennifer Connelly, who is actually the real life wife of Paul Bettany, who played Jarvis. So another little weird connection tidbit and happening in the MCU. And just overall, again, one of my favorite MCU movies, especially one of my favorite movies that is kind of the first in the trilogy, the first movie of the character in terms of introducing them into the MCU and having their own movie. And I also really appreciate how all the big action set pieces were so different. They literally went and used all different types of transportation. There was an action scene on a train. The action scene on the plane. And then there was the boat, and then there was the car scene, the chase scene through the neighborhood. So I thought really good stuff.
I like that they, I think, ended up on Staten Island, right? That was the Staten Island Pier we saw. And I was like, oh, this is a different new take on New York. I think so much of Marvel movies and superhero movies, it's always in downtown Manhattan or something. And it was nice for it to be on a side of New York we normally don't get to see.
True. I don't think I've ever been to Staten Island. Have you guys ever been to Staten Island?
I have. It was like once really late-ish at night. And I think we got Coney dogs. I don't remember. I just remember it was like a little dicey because it was getting dark really fast. This was like 10 years ago.
Oh,
yeah.
I've been to Coney Island. That's different.
Maybe
right?
I think maybe I might be confusing Coney Island for Staten Island.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
We're
remember.
clearly not East Coasters.
Yeah,
We're just
clearly not.
and the East Coasters are like, like,
How dare they? Yeah.
and
California.
this, I mean, the whole scene at the like Washington Monument and the spelling bee. I mean, that they use that location and then it's just so like a really good use of the Washington Monument and like building it up. I love how it incorporates things that you did in high school, like, you know, like what's the name of their team? They're like
The
academic decathlon. Yeah, and that, you know, he uses that, like they do a good job of using these high school like big events that happen in your life and then still balancing that with having to go and try his super suit and like navigate that and be away from it. So they really like keep the stakes alive.
Homecoming dance, going to a party, you know, kind of standard high school, you know, events, but also, you know, with the background of like, and we live in the world of the Avengers where superhero stuff happens.
I also like their new take on the cool popular kid because he wasn't really popular. Like he wasn't your stereotypical jock. He was just cool because he was Peter's like worst enemy. Right. And then like that scene where he's like DJing, I was like, yeah, I guess that would be the now version of like the jock with like the red Solo cups, right? Is like you're wealthy enough to have a DJ set and like to be able to DJ and like bring it to a party. It was great.
Yeah. And he just like kind of just stays on Peter's ass the whole time. And he's just like, why are you being so weird? Just figure out. But I think they also have he has his own little tiff with Peter, because I feel like everyone likes him. Everyone likes Peter, and like, you know, and they know he's a smart kid. And here he's going off and like doing whatever, like, and just disappearing. Yeah. And then Flash is just like, I'm here. I'm smart too. I want to do things. And they're just like the thing. I did feel bad for Flash, that one little moment where like Peter shows up and he's like, can I be on the team again? And he was like, no, you can't just show up. And they're like, yes, thank you.
I think I died when he's telling his date he knows what a fresh branzino is. And I was like, that's still so nerdy because like a branzino is a fish. Like what 15, 16-year-old knows what a good cut of fish is? And I'm like, you're such a nerd.
I mean, that's a big thing. Like, okay, to like shit more on Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. I like, the thing is when you go back and watch it, because I feel I rewatched it not like a few years ago, so like recent enough. I just like I'm watching it. You're like, he's so painfully like almost an 80s stereotype of a nerd, a geek. And it's just like everybody makes fun of him, everybody hates him, and you're just like, this doesn't happen nowadays, or like it's almost too broad for even back then. That now he's like quaking. He has like a soft voice. You're just like you're like, I want to beat him up. You know, I want to go back and bully him. So I like when you're watching like Tom Holland, you're like, he is, you know, he's charming. The other kids like him.
Yeah.
You know, there's just like, okay, it's kind of like that new. I mean, more modern, where like being an overachiever, being a nerd, it's more cool, you know, or everybody feels awkward and we're all kind of awkward in different ways. And I think that's just a more realistic take.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
and even Liz too, like she's, you know, he pines after her, but she's not just like this unattainable, like figure who like, whenever they interact with each other, she's like aloof to how he's acting. You know, she's smart. And I like the fact that they made it a part of her character that she's really dedicated to like her schoolwork. And she's just like, you know, I actually read a book about how to be a good leader. So, you know, I'm trying to do my best.
Can we talk about how she truly has like the saddest arc in the story? Like
Well, yeah.
She and on the night of prom, like unknown to her, is like she loses her dad. I was like, oof, that is, and she has to move away and start over, and like,
And her date runs out on her.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this poor girl. This is truly a sad arc. Like,
yeah, makes you think what her story is continuing on.
I literally was going to ask, hey, I hope we don't do spoilers for me, Joe. But I hope we get to see her again, just to see, what happens to her later down the line. So I don't know if it does or doesn't.
I wonder if there's some like connection to the comics where maybe that character at some point comes back and it's just like, Spider-Man ruined my life, I'm going to get him, Yeah. And
does Toomes protects him in jail, right? Spider-Man
at the end of
that was the post credit, right? That he didn't give him up because he saved his life from the wreckage.
Yeah, because he pulled him from the fire. Yeah. So, again, that great Marvel, duality they have with like their characters and villains, like, how good is good, how bad is bad. They have the ability sometimes to cross over to the other side.
Yeah. The baddie in jail was not a previous bad guy we had seen, right?
No.
Okay. Because he said something where he was like, this is for Spider-Man. And I was like, oh, crap. I don't recognize him.
Well, he was on the boat. And he was one of the people that they were selling the arms.
Yeah. Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then it ends with a very like interesting arc for Peter. The whole movie he was just like really eager to be part of the Avengers. They finally invite him to be, and he's just like, oh, I went through some, dramatic stuff and I am willing to stay close to the ground. I've learned my lesson. And, that funny twist of them just being like, yep, it was a test, go back home. And then they actually had expected to like, introduce him.
Have a whole press tour. Can we talk about too, just how big a deal when I'm realizing as I'm thinking about how I felt watching the movie, when Tony reveals to Peter that he was the one who sent the FBI, I was like, okay, Tony, playing hero. You're obviously probably too busy to handle this stuff, but the fact that you're working with government agents now and trusting them to handle this, like,
and remember, this is a post-Civil War Tony, post-Sokovia Accord. So now he's probably doing a lot more to work with the authorities when things like stuff this come up versus being, like the rogue Tony that from the beginning of the MCU. So, and which adds more to the fact that like he's trying to be more of the authority for Peter. And he's just being like, okay, yes, we did listen to you, but we let people know. So you don't have to do anything, listen to me now type thing. And so, overall, I think a really great, as we agree, a really great movie in addition to the MCU. And as it said at the end, Spider-Man will be back. So we will be seeing him more. One other quick thing to mention, one of my favorite lines at the end was Vision's not big on doors or walls, referencing again how Vision likes to float through doors. So again, a great way to like introduce Spider-Man, but also, embed it specifically in the MCU. So yeah. Oh, and then May at the end figuring out that he's Spider-Man and being like, what the F? Leaving little threads for us that will definitely be picked up along the way. So let's go ahead and transition to our stretch and share, where we share a little bit, a highlight of our week and also stretch ourselves out a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and offer a stretch and just doing some like shoulder rolls, some arm rolls and swings back and forth. And yeah, go ahead. Quincy, what's something you want to share?
I am buying a new couch.
Yay!
And I did the adult thing and I'm getting a U-Haul. And a U-Haul is actually, I guess, not that much now that I'm an adult now, and I'm not 20. A U-Haul is only $50. And now I'm like, crap, like I really should just get a U-Haul to get furniture I want instead of trying to beg my friends to let me borrow their big cars or try to load it into my car.
Wait, so you're going to pick it up in a U-Haul?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They didn't have like a delivery service or anything?
Oh, this is like it's a secondhand.
Okay.
The friend's couch. Cool. She's moving. And I was like, I will take this couch.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Doing it for yourself.
Yeah. I don't know what to do with this futon, but You'll have to go. I think I'm over futons now, guys, in light of like this being my second or third. Like you think it's going to be great because it's a 2-for-1, but it's never great as a sofa. It's like you don't get it's just bad both ways.
Yeah, it's not. It's like it's like diminished on both sides. It's like not fully a couch, not fully a
it's not
lay down thing. Yeah,
no, I'd rather sleep on the floor. So I'm getting a new couch. I'm excited. It's blue. And now I'm like, should I get new cushions for it? So if you guys have good places to get new like cutesy cushions, please let me know. Throw pillows.
Okay, cool. I will say I just went on Amazon to buy some new pillows, and what's kind of difficult is like they are constantly trying to push like covers on you, like pillow covers, not the actual pillows that are already covered. So that was difficult. I was like, why is this so hard just to buy a pillow that's just a pillow with a cover on it? It keeps trying to sell me pillows without covers and then the covers. So just something to keep in mind. But my share actually this week is, I mentioned it before. I've been watching Diary of a Future President on Disney Plus, a really cute, fun show about, a girl who is kind of an overachiever in middle school. And she's the premise is like she's in middle school, but eventually she becomes the president. So this is kind of like part of her journey of like trying to figure out whether or not she can achieve that. And I have a soft spot for shows or any media that stars young overachieving brown girls, because it reminds me so much of myself. So I highly recommend. It's on Disney Plus right now. So Joe, any share you would like to offer?
You know what? So what my share, and I think this is a share that I can share because I won't give spoilers, but what's kind of cool, I got to see, for the WGA podcast, I got to see an interview, the screenwriter of Shang-Chi, coming up, Dave Callahan, on WGA 3rd and Fairfax. And so I saw it and it's great. It's so good. I just like high recommend it. And such like talking about action scenes, with Spider-Man Homecoming. It's up there with one of my favorite Marvel films now.
Great. So, that's so good. That's so good to hear. Cause it's such a, I feel like it's going to be similar to, Black Panther, of having a moment for a specific community and culture, and really like showcasing that, we can have, those type of people that are, shining as the stars of their own franchise. Yes. Very excited
It's
to see
super cool
Shang-Chi.
that it delivered.
Yeah.
I'm just so super excited. Tony Leung is just smoldering. He is I loved, In the Mood for Love, 2046. He's great in Chungking Express, and he was like in this other Ong Lee film. He plays a villain in that. So like once you see that, you're like, oh, he's just a charismatic villain.
What's interesting too is like, I know Hollywood has been trying to like break the code in terms of like being, to get to the Asian market. And it's like, it would be to use international Hong Kong, Chinese, Korean actors and putting them in a Marvel movie. Like, why not? Like, put Jet Li as like an evil villain. People would come to see him all over the world.
100%. And what's funny is I like Tony Leung. He's in so many international films that you forget that he, I didn't know he spoke English so well. And that sounds like such a like Western thing to say, but I actually have only seen him like either speak Mandarin or Cantonese in films. And you're like, oh, he's like raised in Hong Kong. Of course, he in interviews and everything, you go back like, oh yeah, he speaks fluently, but besides being an international star, which is like, I think he's made for this. I'm like, why haven't we thought of this before with Tony Leung? I don't know. So that's my
And hopefully, as they do all Marvel things, we see these wonderful people come back over and over and over again, so we can continue to enjoy their great performances. So that's our stretch and share for today. Let's go ahead and transition into the makeup portion, where we're going to talk a little bit about some of the Fenty items that Joe uses.
Yes, Joe, do share.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay. So the Fenty items that I actually have their eyeliners.
Okay.
And one of their lipsticks. So the eyeliners that I've got from Fenty are these 3 different shades.
Oh, they're colored eyeliners. They're pencil, right?
Yeah, they're pencils. They really are so great because I just like they're so smooth to go on. And then they give you such a great color, especially this blue. It's like an electric blue.
Can you pop off the top just so we could see?
Oh, sure. So like that. And then you can see that.
Pretty. That's a really pretty blue.
Yeah. And it's once it's on, it's almost like you don't have to wear eyeshadow.
Yeah.
You could do a base, but it's very creamy, when you put it on and it pops. I also like the pink too. And I had been looking for a white eyeliner, and I actually got a liquid one that's not Fenty. And then once I bought, I was like, oh, this is so much better because it glides on. You know?
Do you get the accuracy of a liquid eyeliner?
I think so, without the liquid liner being if you make a mistake, you're like, oh, I have to wipe it off
over.
Or make it so thick. I think it kind of allows for that flexibility, almost like a crayon, but better. It just glides, and it's a little thicker. I can put it on. Should I just put it on?
Could you please?
Sure. I guess. So it looks a lot thicker than the pencil that you've had me use in the past, Quincy. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is an interesting. Okay. So what I've done previously is do that Q-tip thing. Wow. So that's a pretty thick line. It's not just on the, what do you call it? The
lid. The tier line, there's the tight line. And
tight line.
Yeah. The tight line, I think good job, Kay.
Wow. That's
really
cool. Yeah. And it does look like you have eyeshadow on as well. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like a double whammy.
Yeah.
So where would you wear these colored eyeliners out to? Would it be to a party, or would you even use them for a day look?
I mean, she could, if Joe popped up like this to a work meeting, it looks great. It's a little pop of color. It's a little fun. You don't have to, that's the other thing too, Kay, is I think now, before it was you got to reserve looks for certain things. I think with now, if Joe wanted to wear blue eyeliner today to work, she absolutely could.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have you worn blue eyeliner to work, Joe, before?
Yeah, I think to a works drink, or just a casual dinner with some friends too. Or I would wear, if I wore it to a work thing, I'd probably dress a little more understated, and then and kind of professional, and then have that pop of color with your eye.
And again, it's so things aren't fighting for attention. Because if she were blue and then more unless she's color blocking, right? Unless you're deliberately going for a very I could also see if you did the blue and got a nice salmon and a pink, you're going for a very starburst look, that would work. But if you're again, I wouldn't wear her blue eyeshadow with this shirt, because it would just fight. The graphics on this shirt would fight the brightness, and it would be oh, there's a lot going on.
Okay. But you right now, Joe, you have on just a black top. So, and we'll do a white design, but there's not that much pattern.
Punk rock.
Yeah, and it's it looks really punky altogether.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, because when you did start talking about what you would wear, like I thought, oh, maybe you would wear like a suit, like a blue suit. But that's wrong.
She could do that. No, she could do that. Absolutely. If she like matched, got like a similar kind of color, like she could either wear the same color or go a little lighter or go a little darker. And then like underneath it, she, probably keep it again, simple. Like it'd probably be, again, there's a world of combinations. There's no right or wrong to do it, but it's just about
except when I try.
No, okay, because you're still learning, you're still figuring it out. It's just keeping it simple so that like it's not again fighting for attention.
Yeah. Well, today I was trying to go from like a subtle day look as well. Again, I did do my T line with black eyeliner, very light. And then I curled my eyelashes. Are you supposed to curl your eyelashes after you put eyeliner on? Because I did notice that once I curled my eyelashes, eyeliner got on the bottom of my eye. So did I do that in the wrong order?
I think it depends. I think for me, what do? I will do it after. I don't know. It's been a minute since I wore mascara.
I didn't put mascara on. I just had eyeliner.
I see. You probably got some product on your lash curler.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So then it fell on my...
I probably do eyeliner, then I curl my eyelashes. I don't know. What do you do, Joe?
I will do eyeliner. Then I would do mascara next. And then I would do...
Interesting. I do the opposite. I curl my eyelashes, then put mascara on.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
I think that I like, like when you have the mascara on and then I use the eyeliner so that it kind of like crinkles it a little bit. And I feel like it stays a little, but I haven't been using, I used to use it's this Japanese brand of like, I think it's a shoe.
Is it Shiseido?
No, not Shiseido. It's like a Shu Yumura eyelash curler. I used to use that one a lot. It has like a really good spring, and then it would really like pop. Like really.
You're like the second person who said to me, I used to use a Japanese eyelash curler, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think I just honestly with Zoom and stuff, I like do it less. It's called. Yeah, it's a Shu Yumura. I'm butchering it. Eyelash curler. And that thing, I mean, it was good. It was really good.
I almost didn't find my eyelash curler today. I've gotten so much new makeup lately that's mostly in like gallon bags and in like a basket. And then for some reason, the eyelash curler went down to the bottom of the basket. So that was difficult. And also, I am wearing glasses today. Usually I wear contacts, but I'm having kind of a bit of an eye issue. So I decided to do my makeup, but still wear, glasses. It's harder. It's much harder to put on makeup when you can't see. So do you have any tips for that, Quincy, of like when you're putting makeup on and you're not?
I will usually, I don't know if you, and Joe, I'd love to hear your tips. I either get really close to the mirror or put on my contacts in and then pop them out and then put my glasses on.
Oh.
Yeah. My vision is very poor.
My vision is very bad. Yeah.
This is for ways to not get the makeup on your glasses.
Or no, just how to put makeup on when you don't have, when you're wearing your glasses.
Yeah. When you're trying not to wear contacts for the day.
So like when I take my glasses off and I was putting on the makeup, I was like, it's very, it's hard to see because you're not wearing the glasses and you don't have contacts in. So it was harder for me to be like when I was doing my eyeliner, I was just like, I can't, is that where it's supposed to go?
That's so hard. That's really hard. I wish I had tips because like, I don't wear eyeglasses. I don't wear glasses.
Oh, you don't wear glasses?
Perfect.
No, I don't. I know. It's like, do you read? Like everybody read. I don't wear glasses. So I'm like,
wow.
Josephine, you wake up in the morning and just pop out of bed.
It's
do.
it's like your superpower. Oh my gosh.
Normal, like, you know what's funny? There was a year in high school, my senior year, where like I'd be at the end. It started to like get a little fuzzy if it was like in red, like if the board would be in, if it was like red marker, and like I was at the back of the classroom, so I got glasses just so I could look cute. And now I'm just bragging. I'm sorry. This is a terrible story.
We are living vicariously through you. I'm like literally salivating. I'm like, oh, what is that lie?
I know.
Yeah.
My husband doesn't have glasses. There's a good chance we'll have children one day that won't need glasses.
I feel like that's the exception to the rule now. Like so many people I know more have bad vision than good vision.
I see little kids with glasses and like they're really little. So they have like the goggle glasses, not real glasses, because they'll lose them. It's so cute because they look like they're going swimming, but like, they're glass. I see like small children with them. And it's probably from being on a phone or a tablet for so long, or like laptop. Like,
I mean, I've had bad vision since I was real young. So, I always had it. Yeah. Before the screens were a thing, my eyes were no good.
Reading books. So not a screen, the opposite of a screen.
Are you both like farsighted or nearsighted? Because I kind of get them confused sometimes.
I think I'm
one or the other. I think I'm both.
You think you're one? Yeah, you're probably one or the other.
No, sorry. I think I'm one in both. I have astigmatism in both eyes, and I don't. Do you have the same prescription in your eyes, Kay? Because mine are different. And
no, mine are different. Yeah, one is slightly stronger than the other one, but. So they're different in my glasses, but when I wear contacts, they're the same.
What?
Because it's so different that if I wear contacts that are slightly different, like I get headaches. So they said it's better for me just to have the same prescription when I have contacts, but in my glasses, one's slightly stronger because one of the eyes.
I want to try your glasses on and see, because I still have yet.
Every time I've someone has tried my glasses, they're just like, whoa.
That's what everyone says about my glasses.
Yeah. You are not good with the sight.
I have crooked eyes.
Yeah. Ever since I was a kid.
Oh my goodness. We almost forgot our thematic tie-in. What I wanted to say was, because Joe was bringing in like new stuff for us to like look at and talk. I was like, just like new powers, you just got to try them on. Yeah, try them. Just like how Spider-Man got new powers and new gadgets and new gizmos, and he just had to test them.
Yeah, figure it out as it goes.
Yeah.
And my thematic tie-in for the makeup was, Rihanna, her Fenty line debuted in 2017, and this was Spider-Man's debut into the MCU. So
they both had their homecomings.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of our Marvel makeup portion for today, and the end of our podcast. Joe, thank you so much for joining us. It was such a blast to have you. And where would you like it? Is there anything you would like to let people to know?
Plug? Yeah. Do you have anything to plug, to share? Is there something coming up that you're excited to talk about?
Or where on social media, if you like people to come find you, feel free to let us know.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Green Zhang, J-O Green like the color, Zhang, Z-H-A-N-G, the N, I'm on the socials like that. And I'm super excited for my podcast with Dave Callahan and on Third and Fairfax. So if you listen and like to talk writer nerd things, like that's the podcast for you, or on Twitter too. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, a great podcast. I just listened to your episode with Jen Statsky. Really good, really and informative. Well, thank you again. And if you'd like to reach out to us at Marvel Makeup, find out more about us, feel free to follow us on all social media at Marvel Makeup, or you can email us at marvelmakeuppod@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you find your podcasts.
And please give us 5 stars so that our Asian moms will know that we're actually pretty entertaining.
Yeah. You figure out they're so surprised when you tell them. They're like, really? These people? Well, thanks everyone. We'll catch you next time on Marvel and Makeup.
Yay!
Marvel Makeup is hosted and produced by Quincy Cho and Kay Kanapu. Quincy is an actor-writer based in Los Angeles, California. Kay is a writer-performer for Filipino AF and an alum of the CBS Diversity Sketch Showcase. You can follow them on Twitter and Instagram at Quincy Dinosaur and at Kay Kanapu.
The music for Marvel and Makeup was composed by Clarence Yap, and our artwork was designed by Patty Lynn. You can find them on Instagram at Clarence_Yap and at pattylyn.jpg. See our show notes for even more info.
Marvel Makeup is also a member of the Potluck Podcast Collective, a network of Asian American hosted podcasts. Please check out our fellow Potluck pods by going to the website podcastpotluck.com.
Life gets a little crazy sometimes. Sometimes it's confusing, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's beautiful, and sometimes it can just piss us off. Enter First of All Podcast. It's a safe space for real conversations about the things that we all struggle with, celebrate, contemplate, and work through in our daily lives. I'm your host, Mindy Chang. I'm an actor, filmmaker, and entrepreneur with a colorful background, a full life, and brilliant friends who I love to unpack life with to share with all of you. They are everyday people like you and me, ranging from award-winning artists, cultural icons, powerful CEOs, my hilarious childhood friends, and even my mom. Tune in for honest conversations on mental health, dating, sex, family, career, culture, and everything in between. Listen to First of All wherever you find podcasts, part of the Potluck Podcast Collective.
Did your mom teach you how to do makeup when you were growing up?
No, not really, but she did wear a red lipstick. But I actually learned from a library book. I learned from a library book that was like Christy Brinkley teaches. Like it was like a Christy Brinkley, like an 80s model, which is like, it was old in the library when I went. And then it like, I just like read her lifestyle Christy Brinkley book, and it like taught me how to do
so
makeup.
funny.
And I remember the tips.
Oh, wow. That's
like,
funny.
Wait, Joe, were you like looking for it, or did you like stumble upon it and was like, this is the key to everything?
I stumbled upon it and was like, oh, Christy Brinkley, like, and it must have been like 20 years old by that time, but I was like still looking through it, and it was like, but I still use the tips, like where to use concealer. Like I always like cover here, and then here, and then like spots. Yeah. And I still use the same like technique for that. And then just over time playing around with it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to look that up. Christy Brinkley makeup.